Buying and supporting homegrown products and services is one way to build the economy. This will in turn create jobs and end unemployment, especially among the youth. And now proudly South Africa is trying to drive that point home. Its new advertisement campaign highlights the impact of buying local on the future of our children. Let's find out more about the second half from MaKhumalo Ngidi. She's the Chief Marketing Officer of Proudly SA. Good to have you. Such a privilege and honor. You've become the face of Buy Local, Proudly South African. This is, a clarion call for all of us to make a difference.
Absolutely. I believe so. They call me Sisiwe Local now.
Yes, yes. And that in itself, maybe take us back to how the campaign started. Proudly SA as a initiative of even then President Nelson Mandela.
Yes, absolutely. So he started the movement back then, and he was really dealing with the triple challenges, poverty, inequality and unemployment. And that's how we started. So we are a not so much fragile 22-year-old anymore. And I think it's safe to say that we've made good inroads in our efforts to spread the buy local narrative, which is a tested phenomenon the world over. There's a shift now. South Africans have a bigger appreciation of locally manufactured products. We see it every day. We are not where we essentially could be, but it's a journey, right?
It is a journey. Also making inroads on international stages, at least with the fashion. If you look at Rachel Nisi, I think it's Batu and Drip, all of those other brands are what we proudly call South African local brands. But there's room for more. So tell us about this campaign, how you say each and every one of us have the ability to curb unemployment.
So we're trying to, so when Madiba started it, the first 5 years, we look back at it and we call it the Kumbaya years, where every South African believed in locally manufactured products and services. Every South African wanted to play their part. And then thereafter, life happened and we all, focus on different things, as you would know. But we've launched this narrative because we believe, or this campaign rather, because we believe for the longest time, the audience is hearing proudly South Africans saying buy local to create jobs, which is our call to action. But we believe that at times we speak over the heads of people, and we decided to go for a different kind of approach, very emotive, one that we believe will hit home. And we're using the voices, the innocent voices of people who, in our view, matter the most, our children.
Okay, so how are we going to experience the campaign as South Africans in terms of the rollout thereof and interfacing with the campaign so that we make it our own?
It's everywhere, really, as you travel at airports, on radio, on your television stations, on social media platforms. We decided to go for 8 sectors in particular, many of which are very labor intensive, create a lot of jobs. We have children in the campaign representing the clothing, textile, footwear, leather sector, automotive sector, little girl assembling a car locally. We have a farmer who's growing the food. We have a little girl who is a furniture owner, so she's in the furniture sector. We have the food and beverage sector, and all of these children are narrating a story. They're saying, if we as South Africans, as adults today, make our purchasing decisions in favor of locally manufactured products and services, then their future is brighter. And they're asking a very simple question. It is in your hands when you see the campaign on all these touch points I've spoken about, and what are you going to do about it? Can we be the difference that we would like to see? And they're essentially saying it must start to feel uncomfortable for any South African if they do not consume a locally manufactured product or service at any given time, because if we don't, who should do it for us?
Yeah, and we're still contending with the cheap imports, bombarding our markets, and people having to make a choice between, do I buy local, or if the imported goods are more cheaper. But nonetheless, it is an ethical and moral obligation that we should buy local.
And it is, and it's a reality that we cannot afford to ignore, that, you know, there's people out there who are battling with making a decision. How am I going to feed my family today? They don't care much about the you know, whether the product comes from the outside of the country or not. For them, it's about survival. So we're very mindful of that, and we respect that reality. But we do say to those of us who can make a decision to make, you know, to purchase anything that they need in favor of local, you know, then they have an obligation to do it.
Yeah, so just before we wrap up, you touched on the kumbaya, you know, the honeymoon period of 1994 in what we believed in, aspired to have as well, and youth sitting at home, maybe qualified, unemployed, and having apathy, saying it's just nothing is happening for them. What is your message in this campaign?
And the message is that, and you're quite right, everybody who's listening to us today, everyone in this room, the studio, knows somebody who is actively looking for a job. In fact, the statistics are not even a true reflection of how dire our situation is. For people who are sitting at home who are thinking, I am qualified, I've done everything I can, I've sent 500 applications, I've not even received one. It is really just you know, there is still hope, and this is why through this campaign, second half, which is a football analogy, we are asking South Africans to pause, rethink our differences to South African products, and rethink our game plan. What are we going to do? And the message is, not everybody will be employed in the private sector. It's impossible for the private sector to absorb everybody into their ecosystem. So with this campaign, we're creating job creators for the future, as opposed to, which will then take care of the social ills and take care of those people that you spoke about earlier on, that they may be sitting there, have applied, and there's no opportunities. The mind you know, change, the shift has to happen, where not only can you be an employee, but, you know, the narrative is about saying young children can also at some point, you know, be job creators, particularly in light of Youth Month, and that's why this campaign is important now and beyond Youth Month.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you. It's such a privilege to have you, by the way.
Thank you so much.
And that's Happy MaKhumalo Ngidi. She's the Chief Marketing Officer at Proudly SA, an entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, a renowned businesswoman, author, all these things. So no introduction required. And she's beautiful, maintaining her effervescent youthfulness. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.